LSE, ESTJ, PS. Logical sensing extratum. Director, Administrator, Stierlitz or archetype Sherlock Holmes. Jung. Extroverted, sensing, logical, rational. Reinen. Dynamic, yielding, aristocratic, tactical, emotivist, farsighted, serious, judicious, negativist, process, asking. Velenko. Communication style, businesslike, romance style, caring, forms of thinking, dialectical algorithmic cognition. Groups. Delta Quadra, ST pragmatists, EJ temperament. Extroverted. He focuses on the outer world. He manipulates real objects, feelings, emotions, and sensations, rather than delves into a world of imagination. Sensing. He is emphasizing concrete, tangible details that can be directly experienced, making him more realistic and down to earth. More aware of his surroundings and living in the present moment. Pay attention to details rather than the big picture. Logical. He sees the world through the lens of rules and logical connections. Makes decisions based on logic often. Prefers logical evaluations, right or wrong, and prefers argumentation over persuasion. Rational. He evaluates the information, and then takes the appropriate action depending on the situation, using their experience. Tend to plan, make decisions early. Serious. They poorly recognize common emotional background. They haven't objectively known facts, rules, and laws, based on general, common, experience. They consider someone else's opinion, after comparing it with the real facts. Judicious. Natural state is relaxation. Work best when they can relax beforehand and are mobilized only for the duration necessary. Aristocratic. He is inclined to perceive and refer to other people, and themselves, by means of groupings and categories. Yielding. It's easy to change his mind. Resources are personal, but ideas are freely shared and manipulated. Process. He does things sequentially, from the beginning to the end. Immersed to a process and inclined to single tasking. Farsighted. He is inclined to solve problems, by primarily using that information which they possess through knowledge and experience. Dynamic. He perceives events in a continuous sequence, continuous changes rather than discrete states. Tactical. He focuses on methods, and manipulate them, with goals unsettled. Negativist. He is inclined to detect and resolve problems within things, systems, or processes. Socially and intellectually more distrusting and disinterested at first. Emotivist. He tends to concentrate foremost on the emotional background of interaction, with business a secondary concern. Asking. Typically speaks in questions. Prefers dialogues to monologues. Tends to use short remarks, because they are more interested in hearing the other person than self-expression. Romance-style caring. Attraction is sparked by aesthetic and mental attributes of the prospective partner. Interest is kept up if their partner is welcoming of their care and attention, and even evokes it, and seeks them out. Communication style, businesslike. They communicate with others about their activities and express their emotions about their jobs and engagements. Their communication style is known as active expectation of feelings. Forms of thinking, dialectical algorithmic cognition. They view of the universe as a unified struggle of opposites. It is synthetic, negative, and deductive. As dynamics, these types synthesize associational images. As evolutionary types, they increase deductive complexity of them. As negativists, they work well with contradictions and paradoxes. EJ temperament. EJ has his own views of what reality should be. This tends to be quick at work, proactive, restless. Walking tends to be fast-paced and purposeful, as well as harsh. Quietly energetic with few intense differences in energy level during the day. Tends to fidget when forced to remain inactive for long periods. St pragmatist. Their interactions are likely to be based on sports activities or discussion of, or cooperation in, projects related to manual work and engineering. Very typical examples of groups formed mainly of members of this club are groups of car enthusiasts where actively repairing and refurbishing them with their own hands is a key component of their activities. Delta Quadra. Serious, judicious, aristocratic. Delta types are people who believe that they must work hard to achieve their goals rather than rely on luck, speculation, or group effort. They like to talk about new beginnings, opportunities for personal growth and their plans and prospects for the future, and have a philosophy of self-reliance. LSE Model A. TE Program. Ego Mental Valuable Inert Verbal Acceptable Strong 4D. SI Creative Zone. Ego Mental Valuable Contact Productive Verbal Strong 3D. FE Role. Super Ego Mental Non-Valuable Weak Contact Acceptable Nonverbal 2D. NI Trouble Zone. Super Ego Mental Non-Valuable Weak Inert Productive Nonverbal 1D. FI Suggestive. Super ID Vital Valuable Weak Contact Acceptable Verbal 1D. NE Activating. Super ID Vital Valuable Weak Inert Productive Verbal 2D. TI Ignoring. ID Vital Non-Valuable Strong Inert Acceptable Nonverbal 3D. SE Standard Area. ID Vital Non-Valuable Strong Contact Productive Nonverbal 4D. TABE Program. He must gather information, including information from outside sources such as books, second-hand information, and so on topics of personal interest or professional activity. It results in a desire to be proactive in improving the efficiency and reasonableness of the external world, as well as a sense of self-worth associated with being involved and productive in activities perceived as useful, profitable, or that increase one's knowledge base. SI Creative Zone. He is skilled at organizing relaxing activities and ensuring that everyone is relaxed and having a good time. He is sensitive to people's tastes and personal preferences, and enjoys doing or giving things to friends and family members that will make them happy. Fey Role. He tries to adjust to the current emotional climate, especially in group situations. Such efforts, however, are typically low-key and short-lived. He is unable to participate in a group setting where there is a high level of emotional expression. A typical example is the person who will occasionally correct others' incorrect statements. NE Trouble Zone. He prefers to tell stories or narrate events in a chronological order, rather than explaining how one event led to another. Poor sense of how long things will take and how much time to devote to each task. It's difficult to stay on track without extensive, if not total, planning. Phi Suggestive. He longs for close personal relationships, in which personal and private experiences can be easily shared in an atmosphere of mutual trust. He is drawn to people who value clear and unambiguous interpersonal relationships. They adhere to a clear set of ethical principles, which lends credibility and makes them trustworthy. NE Activating. He values people who make them feel connected to what is going on out there in the world, even if the knowledge cannot be applied practically at the time. He appreciates people who offer insightful ideas and unconventional analysis to help him with whatever he is working on or going through at the time. T. Ignoring. He understands but is largely uninterested in discussions about the internal logic of ideas systems. Such logical systems are perceived by him as largely irrelevant to his goals, and he finds them completely uninteresting and unproductive. SE Standard Area. For brief periods of time, he can be convincingly commanding, tough, challenging, or confrontational without taking himself too seriously, as if it were a show or game. LSE intertype relationships. Dual EII. Identical LSE. Activator IEE. Mirror SLI. Semi-dual ESI. Kindred LIE. Benefactor SEE. Supervisor ILI. Extinguishment LSI. Superego EIE. Quasi-identical SLE. Conflictor IEI. Mirage LII. Business ESE. Beneficiary ILE. Supervise ESEI.